Welcome back. So in this video, we're going to talk just a little bit about the research method in this article. And they describe it as a case study. Now some of you are probably saying, especially my students, wait a second, is this a case study? I don't get it. This isn't like the cases that my other professors give me. There's probably some confusion here. You've got to remember there are two kinds of cases, right? There are teaching cases and there are research cases. Probably what you've been having in your classes are teaching cases, is what the professor has been giving you. Teaching cases generally don't have a lot of theory. It just tells you a story, and they normally have some sort of a decision point or something that you're supposed to analyze and make a decision about, and you do like a presentation based on that, right? They're teaching tools. Most cases also have, teaching cases that is, have an instructor's manual that goes with them. And of course that's not given to students, but there's usually an instructor's manual that gives you all the information about the case that an instructor could use. It tells you theory, how to teach with the case, exercises with answers, and all that other kind of stuff, right? But that's a teaching case. This is a research case. And normally research cases look at a very, very small sample size. In fact, sometimes just sample size of like n equals 1, and they really, really go in depth into it. Now, they describe this in this article as this case has a thick description. I'm not entirely sure we're talking about thick descriptions here. Thick descriptions are those meaty, fleshy details that help you feel like you're part of the case or whatever. I don't know how many people are going to read this story and feel like that they are a small business owner struggling with whether they should use social media or not. I never got that, so I didn't feel like this was a thick description. In my own writing, for example, I use thick descriptions I describe the setting, I describe my emotional states at the time. I give you as much fleshy detail, almost like a fiction writer or an autobiographical writer, so that you as the reader feel like you are present. That's the value of thick descriptions. Some of the best people who use thick descriptions in terms of discipline, I find that sociology faculty, when they're writing their papers, are really, really good at thick descriptions. Sometimes their papers will be 60 pages long. One of my students said that's because sociologists like to gossip. Well, that may or may not be true, but when they're writing, they certainly are good with helping you feel like you were there. They provide all those nitty-gritty details that go into a process. They focus on a lot of hows and whys, and so that's what they mean by thick description. Again, didn't really feel like this paper provided that. They also talk about the importance of triangulating data. What does triangulating mean? Think about drawing a triangle. Let's say you've got a point A and a point B, and you draw on that point C, and point C confirms point A and says the same thing point B has said. That's triangulating. Imagine you talk to your friend Joe, and he says, that pizza's really good. Okay, well maybe the pizza's good or not. Then you talk to your friend Steve, he says, that pizza's really good. Okay, maybe it is good. Then you talk to another friend, Dave, and Dave says, hey, you need to try that pizza. Okay, now I've got 3 people who say I need to try that pizza. This is triangulating the data. I'm hearing the same thing or similar things from 3 different people. I'm starting to get a better picture. Or maybe I talk to 10 people and they all tell me 10 different things about the pizza, but they all basically say it's good pizza. This is also triangulating data. Now I laugh, they make a comment about qualitative research outputs are of more relevance and interest to management practitioners than quantitative research. Well, I'm not a big fan of quantitative research, I have to admit. However, I think that as long as you don't go overboard with your quantitative method, you can write quantitative papers that are also of use to management practitioners, right? By the same token, I have read qualitative papers that are so fluffy, weird, and over-the-top obsessive with how they did their critical discourse analysis and all this other stuff, that's also not of any use to practitioners. Yes, case studies normally fall into a qualitative research methodology, and case studies can be more useful to practitioners than would an elaborate statistical paper. However, I think it is dangerous to make those broad, sweeping generalizations. A good writer will make sure that the implication for practitioners pop. Whether a paper is useful to practitioners or not is a function of the author's skill, not a function of the methodology that that person chooses. That's just my opinion on that. So, anyhow, let's get back to the methodology piece. They say they interviewed 27 managers of locally owned small businesses, which includes 8 restaurants, 5 training schools, 9 retail stores, 5 personal service providers, and all of these businesses have fewer than 10 employees in a mid-sized U.S. city. Then they interviewed each of the owners for up to 45 minutes. Do you really think you're going to get real thick, meaty, juicy descriptions talking to someone for just 45 minutes? I want you to think about that for a second. I understand that, with 27 restaurants, it can be hard to have hours and hours and hours of interview, but sometimes that's what you got to do. So they asked some different questions, and these are the things that they asked them. Whether or not they had adapted social media. I think what they should say is whether they had adopted social media. I think that's a typo in the article. Why they adopted or did not adopt social media, what social media tools they were using, what benefits they gained from social media, what issues they encountered, how much time they had spent on social media, what assistance they needed and how they use social media, how they addressed customer complaints or concerns, and what were the future plans for social media adoption and use. Hang on a sec. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? I'm just going to count the questions on the page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's about 5 minutes per question, assuming they use the full 45 minutes. And I'd be willing to bet you they didn't use the full 45 minutes each time. So you're getting thick descriptions from asking somebody a question and only giving them five minutes to answer each one of them, on average. Okay. So, in our next video, what we're going to do is we're going to start analyzing the results. And this is one of my favorite parts of this particular article. So if you like this discussion, make sure you give me a thumbs up, that's a like, comment down below, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.